Head to Whole Foods Market to jumpstart your January during our New Year boosting event with savings on feel-good favorites store-wide. Save on organic picks, wellness staples, and more all month long.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Watch Unstoppable now, exclusively on Amazon Prime Video.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match RAW, podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and joining me to give their immediate reactions to Brentford 0, Liverpool 2 in the Premier League from the children's toy-sounding G-Tech Stadium are Dave Hendrick and Hari Sethi. What a wonderful way to end the game, Dave.
Absolutely fantastic, Trev. We've just witnessed a very comfortable 2-0 win for the Reds, haven't we?
Yes. In fact, it was.
It was. That's the thing. Like, if you could take the 2 goals and put them anywhere in the game, and nobody could argue that we wouldn't have deserved them. So it was a 2. Like, we played probably a 3-0 or a 4-1 type of win today. Like, just from the raw numbers of it, we've had 37 shots with 8 on target. Now, 8 on target is very low from 37. They've had 11 with 6 on target. And, you know, they got into some decent positions, but they never really troubled Ali. I thought our 2 centre-backs today were just absolutely outrageous. It was like how they were before Ibu got hurt. I thought they were just brilliant today. I thought everybody else had a bit of a questionable game, but those 2 were sensational. And it's just, like, it's kind of fitting. We were watching the game, and of course, as you can imagine, Trev, I'm a picture of serenity watching that. Never in doubt. And I'm thinking to myself, as it gets later and later, like, we're going to need, like, a Forest from last year type of thing here. And wouldn't you know it, the fella who seemingly is 3rd choice striker now behind Jota and Luis Diaz, who's a winger, and has had calls all week long for a teenager who's just turned 19 to start ahead of him, comes on, and as we were talking about before the game, it's the full Darwin experience. There's a lot of good stuff. There's some really bad stuff, like that very ill-advised shot. The header, which I think is a cushioned header to try and lay it down for Gakpo, but it looks bad because it misses by quite a bit. And I don't think anybody else is looking at that and thinking, oh, like, the commentators were certainly not giving him credit for trying to set somebody up. And then, you know, he pops up with a goal, gets himself booked, pops up with another goal. I was hoping he'd take off the shirt again, get a red card, get a second yellow and go off. But then he has that horror show of a tackle as well, and nearly did get himself sent off. So it's the full Darwin experience. But, like, there is a part of me that there's a creeping part of me that just thinks, what if he just hit a a run of form like he had at Benfica just till the end of the season, even just for the next 10 games, what if he just finally clicked? And even if it went away after 10 games, if he could fire us to a title, like, it would just be very, very fitting. And it would put to bed a lot of the nonsense. This nonsense that he's the worst signing in club history. No, he's not even close. Doesn't even crack the top 10. I went through them a few weeks ago on the Daily Red. We've signed a lot of shit over the years. But, like, he comes on and the crowd are singing, "You're just a shit Andy Carroll." And every time something goes wrong, from like that shot that went over, "You're just a shit Andy Carroll." And then he scores, "You're just a shit Andy Carroll." So what does he do? He scores again. And the second goal is better than the first one. So fair play to the lad. It's fantastic. And we 100% deserve that win. They're a good team. That is a very good win. And we can all be very happy now as we sit back, and as we start to record this, Arsenal will kick off in about 7 minutes. And hopefully Villa can do something for us. And if they do, the psychological hammering of us winning and Arsenal maybe even losing, and us coming out of this weekend with what would be a 7-point gap and a game in hand. But even if they got a draw, to be 5 and a game in hand would still be a great position for us to be in.
And this is the thing, Harry, even if they go out and win this evening, there's something about us getting that result in that manner which will really upset and eat away at their already fragile confidence. It's a tone that's been set by Lego Head himself. He seems a fragile man, in much the same way that his great mentor, old Josep over at City, can be an emotionally fragile character. And I just think the way that we've won that towards the end, with a guy who is, as Dave outlined there, so out of favour, so looked down upon, being linked with moves to Saudi, being written off by the vast majority of the fan base, sadly written off by other portions of the fan base like ourselves who are saying, Christ, it might be the end for this kid. The way that happened, especially when they are, struggling for their striker situation, I just think it's going to really sting regardless of the result tonight. I think they're just going to be a little bit sickened by that. Regardless, it's going to go, oh my God, there's something inevitable about Liverpool, which I love, Harry.
Oh, massively. No, I think it's that late dagger, isn't it, effectively, which is, for all rival fans who are watching, is sort of the worst way for you to see your opponents win a game like that, late on momentum, confidence surging through the veins of let's face it, an 85 million sort of pound number 9 who, if he can start firing, and if he can even find a purple patch in form for, let's say, the next 5-10 games or something like that, that could well be enough. And I think that's, in terms of sort of having everybody contribute, everybody have their moments. We've seen seasons like this in the past when we've been going for the title, late winners, and just how hugely influential they can be. I know a lot of people always think of that Villa away performance where Robbo and Sadio got those 2 late goals to grab a win for us. Dave mentioned Forest away last season, where Darwin grabbed that late goal. This is a guy who clearly, confidence is everything for him. He needs to believe in it. He believes in himself, I think, almost too much at times. But I think when he's scoring these goals, and you could see, I thought after the game, just how popular a guy he is amongst the squad. I think we didn't have any doubts about that. But being mobbed by his teammates and some of the subs off the bench as well, very well liked. Everyone sort of, no one's questioned the heart of this guy, right? So him popping up with those two goals, and as Dave mentioned, nearly the trademark Darwin performance, and potentially getting a second yellow. Finally, we benefit from a refereeing context as opposed to actually just refereeing decisions, which is what we asked for. Pretty glad he didn't do it in that occasion for the late challenge. But no, I thought it was a hugely impressive performance. I thought I was a bit frustrated in the first half by just how I thought we didn't look fluid in attack, and things were breaking down in kind of a frustrating way. But you couldn't question the dominance in second half as well. I thought it really ratcheted it up. And the thing I thought you did see, both teams have played midweek. There have been rotation for both sides, and in places. Liverpool are one of the fittest teams in the league. You can see that in terms of sort of just how hard they make you work. There are many points in that game where you saw Brentford players, hands on their hips, sort of puffing, because once the game opened up, like the athletes who got in our team were fully ready to sort of do those shuttle runs back and forth. And I'm sure we'll come on to talk about individual performances, but I thought, as well as the defenders and the centre backs being excellent today, I thought Trent, I think that's as strong a game as I've seen him have for a long while now. And in particular, the thing that we really criticised, against United, but in certain games, that intensity of his recovery runs and putting a shift in to get back there and help us out in dealing with those counters. Fully there today, fully committed, having his name sung when he was taking the corners. And yeah, I just hope, Trev, as you mentioned, that the Arsenal set piece coach is there in the dressing room getting ready for the Villa game, having a look at us waste corner after corner after corner, and just having a bit of a smirk to himself before we eventually do that. So yeah, huge win. Hope it's a massive confidence booster for one Darwin Nunez.
Yeah, hopefully. You're right there. There's a couple of emerging narratives, which have possibly been busted there tonight by that performance. And one of the stories behind the story is for all the talk about Nunez and what he could possibly be worth to us were he to accept a move to Saudi, as unlikely as that always seemed to me, because I'm sure he considers himself to be a player that's worthwhile. I don't know, maybe money is the bottom line for every human, but there is the situation with his own missus and the fact that she's pregnant, and why would you want to be upending your family at this stage of your life and your life as a growing family? That, I think, is something that, the purple patch that you mentioned, I really hope that can happen for him now. And you saw his face at the final whistle. He's looking up to the sky there. That is the definition of what relief looks like. He is relieved. He is thankful. It's a massive moment for the kid. And we've been waiting for this sort of, epiphany to strike Darwin. And maybe this is it. The other thing, just on this, because we probably won't come to it, and you've both mentioned how it's kind of a complete Darwin performance. We've missed a little shade of grey here in the middle of it. If you look like Darwin Nunez and you decide, I'm going to take my jersey off now to celebrate this goal, and you leave your undershirt on, you're obviously a daft bastard, because you take your shirt off to display the wonder of your Darwin Nunez physique, and you leave your undershirt on.
All I wanted, Trev, was for him to take his shirt off and reveal on the undershirt just a huge picture of Andy Carroll's face. I think that it would have been the most meta, but it would have been sensational. Someone finally told him who Andy Carroll is. He's asked one of his mates, and they bought him the shirt.
You're giving him an idea for the next one. Dave, we went strong. There's not a whole lot of point in talking too much about the team line, the line of the team, except for possibly the inevitable swap out of Tsimikas for Robbo, because that's just what we're going to have to do. And unless a signing is made that's first team ready, that's going to be the nature of things between now and the end of the season. And the only other one was the fact that it was Nunez sitting on the bench and Diaz preferred, as you mentioned earlier on, the 9. But there's not a whole lot to say here. We probably went with our most constantly high-performing 11 there. The bench does look quite solid, with Chiesa and Jones and Elliott and Endo, Kwanzaa, Bradley and Robertson alongside Kelleher. It's a good bench. So we have options. But Brentford are a very interesting side indeed. It looked today like Flecken was going to have one of those games that we saw the lad for Forest have during the week. But, whereas Carl pointed out on Raw on Tuesday night, he's been doing that week in, week out. I wasn't quite sure whether Flecken was or not. And he did make a few good saves. As you said earlier on, an awful lot of our efforts weren't on target, although that doesn't count the likes of Dom rattling the crossbar. It always strikes me as cruel that they don't count as on target, because does it get any closer? But I suppose when you look at what we were up against there this evening, I really like this guy. I think their manager's really got a lot going on. He's a clever man, and he manages to he can carry himself with a bit of grace. There was a lovely exchange between him and Arne where maybe with another manager would have been ratty shouting over and back. The boys just sort of smiling, and there's a little kind of high five at the end of it. I just love the way he carries himself. He always sounds very intelligent, and he has a team here that's full of really, really good footballers. They have a really excellent system. One thing that people, this is a bit rambling, but stick with me. One thing that people have mentioned was that, you know, not many people did to Brentford what we did to them today in terms of taking them apart. Not many people went at them with the ferocity we went at them. Yeah. Maybe nobody, actually, in terms of like the constant attacking barrage that they faced tonight. And there was a narrative being spun. I was watching on Opta Sport and I was watching on Premier Sport. I was switching between the two of them whenever the stream went a bit shitty. And on both channels, like on Tuesday night with Fletch and his pal McManaman, they were trying to create some sort of story where it was a basketball game. The phrase was used again. Was it a basketball game? We dominated the game, and they're a very good team, Dave. Talk to me about them and the challenge we faced against them. What you thought of them in their lineup, the way that they approach the game, the system you see that Thomas Frank employs.
You know what's smart? Enjoying a fresh gourmet meal at home that you didn't have to cook. Meet Factor, your loophole in the laws of mealtime. Chef-crafted meals delivered with a tap, ready in just 2 minutes. You know what's even smarter? Treating yourself without cheating your goals. Factor is dietitian approved, chef prepared, and you plated. Pretty smart, huh? Refresh your routine and eat smart with Factor. Learn more at factormeals.com.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger for thousands of appetizing ingredients that inspire countless mouth-watering meals. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices. Plus, extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week and up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with points. So you can get big flavors and big savings. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
So I really like them as a club. I think they're, you know, the way they've done it, the way they've built themselves over these years to come from League One into the Premier League, establish themselves in the league, build a new stadium, you know, while working the way up through the leagues. I think that's, you know, and not have enormous money being pumped in by a mega rich owner. You know, I like the way they go about how they identify talent, and you see them bring players in, and sometimes they don't work out, but they don't rush to get rid of them. Like, say, Keane Lewis-Potter today, who I thought had a really good game at left back against Mo. So he was bought as a winger, coming off a really good run at Hull. And they paid around 20 million for him. He hasn't worked out as a winger. But Frank has found a really good use for him in the squad. Damsgaard came in a couple of years ago. Didn't work out for them. But they were patient with him. And he's had a really good season this year. Sade came in, didn't work, got injured. But they were patient. They backed themselves that they haven't misidentified the talent, that they've gotten the right player in. It's just about finding the right solution within the squad. And when you look at them today, I really like that centre-back pairing of Collins and Vandenberg. I was against us selling Sepp. I would have liked us to keep him. I think he's a good defender, and I think he showed that today. And I've got a bit of bias towards Nathan Collins because he's one of ours. But I think that's a really good young pairing that you can really build around. And the two fullbacks, I mean, Roerslev is a midfielder and Lewis Potter is a winger. They've been missing Rico Henry and Aaron Hickey all season. Henry's now back. He's made a couple of appearances to go off the bench. But he's been out with a torn ACL for a long time. And Hickey's been out. So, they've been patching it together all season, which explains why they've got a poor defensive record. I'm not a fan of Flecken. I think that was a significant downgrade from David Raya. But he's not bad. He's not a bad goalkeeper. They've got really good, hard-working midfielders. They've got some creativity in the team. They've got pace. And in Brian and Bomo, they have a very, very good footballer. And I think Johan Viss is a really good foil for him. I think there's a really good link between the two of them. And you're watching them today and they're a good team. They're missing today Igor Thiago, who they signed to replace Ivan Toney. It's a big money buy for them, club record fee. Christopher Ayer, who could play right back, can give them depth at centre back. Ethan Pinnock, who's a leader in that squad. Josh Da Silva, who's a good midfield player. And Gustavo Nunez, a young Brazilian kid they brought in the summer, who hasn't played yet. But they're missing a bunch of players, and yet they don't look like a team. They don't present themselves as a team that's, in any kind of bother. They come out confident. They know what they're meant to do. They stick to their game plan. They play to their strengths. And it's all really, really well drilled. And I think this is a very good manager in Thomas Frank. I do wonder at times if maybe it's gone a little bit stale at Brentford, because he's been there a long time now. And maybe for his own career, he should look to move to a club with a higher ceiling. Because I think there's only so far you're going to be able to bring Brentford. And he's probably hit that cap. That's no knock on anybody. That's just the nature of the Premier League. Finances will ultimately dictate. Maybe one year he could get them into Europe, but it wouldn't be a sustained thing. And if Everton weren't a basket case, I would be saying to Everton, go and get yourself a Thomas Frank. This is a guy that builds a really good culture. You've never seen Brentford walk onto a pitch, look at an opposition and think, oh, we're going to lose here. Every time they take the pitch, they look like they're going out to take on their own equals, not a team that they're inferior to. There's no complex with them. They believe they're going to win every game. I think, and I mean this in the most respectful way possible, he reminds me of a budget Klopp. In that he's a culture builder. I think he's a great man manager. I think he gets buy-in from his players. There's nobody you watch in a Brentford shirt and you think, he's half arson here. Ivan Toney did last year. But Ivan Toney was pushing to leave. That had come to the end of a natural cycle. But he got some incredible form out of Ivan Toney for a couple of years. A player who was deemed a bit of a problem, a bit of a bad egg. He got his hands on and turned him into one of the best strikers in the league. He's a really good player developer. Look at what he's done with Mbomo. Look at what he did with Ollie Watkins, with Toney, with Damsgaard now, with Vissa, with Aaron Hickey, with Rico Henry, Collins. Nathan Collins was at Stoke, went to Burnley, went to Wolves, struggled to settle at Burnley and Stoke because, he never got time to really settle in. Brentford buy him, and it's a slow approach. He's not in the team every game, no matter what. He's in the team. He struggles. We take him out of the team, but we don't leave him out forever. We put him back in a game or two later. You give him a chance. You let him settle. You let a young player settle in and find roots in the club. And I think he's done a tremendous job there. And I think that's why, nobody wants to play Brentford. Nobody's looking at their fixtures and going, oh, Brentford away, that's an easy game. Brentford home, that's an easy one. Because they're really well coached. They've got a great attitude. They come to win games. They don't just come to take part. And they have players that can hurt you. And if it wasn't for the fact that we've got the two best centre-backs in the league, they probably do hurt us today. Because they got into some good positions and Virgil and Ibu were just impassable.
I was listening to Harry chatting to his guest on Rival Recon, and I had a little bit of the fear about what Damsgaard might do today. And it was lovely to hear a guy talking about a player who's had the journey you referred to, and talk about him as like one of the league's best in banging form. And when you've got someone like him who's apparently, according to your guest Harry, his numbers are very, very comparable with the very best across all the European leagues, and you've got Mbeumo and you've got Vissa, you have a real option. I always think that midfield of Janelt and Norgard and Yarmoliuk today, they look solid as well. And it's a really good point you make. When you've got the likes of Pinnock missing and other lads who are regular first teamers, including the two fullbacks, they are really an impressive side. What they did last week against City cannot be underestimated, because City are apparently sort of making their way back, 9-year contracts to Goalbot 9,000 and the like. So this is a very impressive win for us today. The fact that it came late on, I think, as you said, Dave, it just happens to be when it happened. You spread those goals into a bundle of 4 over the 90 odd minutes, and no fuckers.
That's the thing. But this is the perception of the game, right? People look at the game after they look at the scoreline, and they bias themselves about what they're about to watch. So take the game during the week, for example, with Brentford and City. So City go 2-0 up, and Brentford score twice. And the narrative is, oh, that's 2 points dropped for City. They've been unlucky there, or they've bottled it. The truth of it is, they were actually very lucky to win the game. And if it wasn't for some unbelievable defending by Nathan Aki, they lose the game 4-2.
Yeah.
So, again, Brentford, people were saying, oh, they got a little bit lucky against City. No, they didn't. They warranted a draw. They should have won the game. That's the reality of what took place. But people allowed themselves, even if they've watched the game first, people allowed themselves to be influenced by when the goals are scored and who scored them.
Let's start, Harry, because it's going to be a long, old rundown. There's a lot that happens in the game, a lot of opportunities created by the Reds. We have some early pressure results in the first of our quarters of 2 minutes, and like the following 15 or so, nothing occurs from it. And then 4 minutes, there's a Rorslev overlap and a very dangerous cross across the face of our goal. Damsgaard, who I mentioned, is inches away from converting. There may have been a suspicion that Rorslev was offside in the build-up to that anyway, but the flag, I don't think, ever went up. 6 minutes, we are back on the attack. Luis Diaz puts a cross in from the right. It's floated in as he is drifted across to that right-hand side. Cody's coming in from left to right, meets it around the penalty spot with his head, but it's a fairly tame effort and it's pretty much directed straight at the keeper. A lot of criticism from not one but 2 sets of panellists at halftime that I saw for that header. Tsimikas picks up an early yellow, which is not good for pulling Mbeumo's shirt. It's really obvious. It's a bit of a daft yellow, really, but also there was a bit of sense to it, because if Mbeumo got away from him there, I think we were kind of in a bit of bother. So maybe a quick doff of the cap to the cynicism of Tsimikas on that one. Virgil wins it back versus Mbeumo on 9 minutes, and it's one of the things Dave mentioned earlier on where I've made a few mentions of Virgil and Ibu throughout this, just their 1v1 things where it looks like men against boys. And when you think about the boys being units like Brian Mbeumo, that's outrageous. They're both excellent today. On 10 minutes, there's a shot from the same man, Mbeumo, on 11. Luis Diaz has a shot that's cleared and leads to a corner. On 14, Ibu dinks one into Luis Diaz. And to be fair, this is a great opportunity. Ibu's kind of central. He dinks one into Diaz. He's sort of the edge of the 6-yard box. He has his back to goal, facing the ball, and he does some sort of headed shoulder connection thing, which it's hard to understand what the hell he was even thinking. He basically cocks it up completely. On 80 minutes, Grav has a dig from the edge of the D. It's a decent hit and a decent save. It leads to a corner, which leads to nothing. 19 minutes and Buemo cuts in, hits one low at Ali, and we're going to finish it up here with our pal Ibu firing one over from distance ill-advisedly on the 20-minute mark. It felt like a Joe Gomez style scenario. Mm-hmm. That opening 20 minutes described as basketball by one of the dopes on the Premier Sports panel. Just simply was not. Yes, they had a couple of chances, but the ratio is, as it was throughout the game, heavily in our favour, Harry.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we've spoken of late about the importance of a strong start for Liverpool, a start where there's that intensity and there's that control that we want to see. I thought, to be honest, I thought we saw a similarly sort of competent start against Forest before they sort of used probably the one mistake that we made, and ruthlessly punished it. I thought otherwise you could sort of see that we were asserting ourselves well into that game. And today I thought it was also important. I think Brentford, certainly in periods this season, had a reputation for going ahead early. They did have it coming into this game the third best home record in the league, right? So I think, as Dave's mentioned, not an easy place to come. A tough team to deal with at the best of times. I think every single game we can think back to against Brentford, even the ones that have seemed comfortable, when you look back at the sort of the score lines, maybe just looking through the fixtures, were actually sort of much more kind of tussles than you actually remember maybe in the immediate future. But I thought it started off well. I thought you could see early on sort of the mood that the likes of Kanate and Virgil were. I mean, Virgil's been locked in for a long time now in my book, but just in an attacking sense, it seemed to be a little bit ponderous, a little bit like less fluid than we've seen ourselves at points in the season where it's been the best of Liverpool in an attacking sense. And even coming into this game, I wondered, would we make it a hat trick? Basically, I think it was 2 consecutive games against Brentford at home where we'd scored from one of their corners, right? So one of the rare opportunities we had to actually just counter and sort of use that muscle memory. But I thought it was impressive in terms of sort of what we saw early on, the dominance there, the attacking threat largely coming down that left side. There was a point in the first half where I was hoping that we would pass the ball a little bit more to Mo, and then we did. I'm sure Tim will come on to talk about that, but that triangle of Mo, Trent and Szoboszlai grew and grew and grew with influence as the game went on. But yeah, confident start, making sure not to concede early, whilst really asserting ourselves and starting to build that momentum, build that pressure, and importantly, give limited joy to Brentford when they did have the odd counter. Having said that, should say really, really early on, that first chance that you mentioned where Roslov crosses the ball in, I think it's fine to admit, quite lucky there not to be 1-0 down in terms of sort of that cross not being tucked away. And that did have me worried a little bit early on in terms of not preventing the cross and then Costas getting booked. And I actually think his performance after that and for the rest of the game, actually, it's a credit to him that he kept his discipline well, because it could have been a difficult ride.
He always has that look. It's whatever it is. He just can't help it. It's his face. He just has this expression, which always leads me to think that he's on some kind of trip or other. I'm not sure what it is. Some weeks he looks like Smiley Stone. Some weeks he looks like he's down in a K-hole deep. And I can never work out what it is. But he has that ability, like you say, to sort of rally and be very disciplined in his approach to the game. And it's why I kind of like the kid. And it's why I definitely prefer him for the rest of the season, or the majority of the rest of the season, to Robbo. Harsh and all as that is on a favourite of mine. Dave, we continue the rest of the half, and just by dint of me saying what I'm going to say, it's kind of the narrative is right there. 22 minutes, Norgard heads over to Buemo free. I think it was from the left-hand side. It's not a bad header, and something narrowly over, and he gets a clear header on it. Dom then has a shot deflected over in 25 minutes. A couple of corners happen. Up as far as 30 minutes, we have 3-4 corners. Cody gets the ball into Mo on 33 minutes. Mo cuts back to Dom. Dom's shot is blocked. Guess what? Corner. Guess what? Shite. 33 minutes is a great drive and dribble by Szoboszlai, and his shot is just a little bit too tame. He kind of pulls one across the face of goal, and it's easily saved. He had done everything right in the approach play, and then the shot itself was just kind of a token rolled towards the goal. 34 minutes, he hits an absolute perler from the right-hand side. He's outside the box. It's dipping beautifully, but it just dips onto the top of the bar rather than skimming the bottom of the bar and going in. Mo has a shot from an Ibu ball into his feet. He kind of turns the player that's marking him, and he hits the ball pretty much straight at the keeper. There's a fantastic move on 38. Mo plays in Cody. Cody's at acres. His cross shot, it's the best chance of the game, really. It's fucking abominable. I've no idea what it is he's trying to do. Some people were saying it was a cross shot. No, he's in on goal. Take your fucking shot. He goes with his left, and he managed to pull the shot back, well, the effort, if it even warrants that word, back across the face of goal, like nowhere near the goal, whereas it was begging for him to come onto it his right foot and bang it in at the near post. Very strange. Great opportunity, and it felt like that was the one that got me the most. Decent pressure again by Trent on 41, a ball into Luis Diaz. Diaz's shot is scuffed and saved quite easily. Dom then picks up a yellow. I thought it looked very soft. It's a challenge, but is it a yellow? I don't think so. Our 9th corner came in the 45th minute, and the only thing, the most danger we created from the corners was on the 9th one at 45 minutes, where Flecken and his defender nearly fuck it up between them. That was our best attacking moment from a corner. And if you could just build into your chat here a little bit about the corner situation, it would be daft of us to not address it, because with the two units we have in Ibu and Virgil, and two lads who are theoretically amongst the best at flighting balls in from that area in Trent and Tsimikas today, we are just a non-event. In fact, one of our corners led to a fantastic opportunity for them to break. It kills me, because obviously we had that Tsimikas to Jota delivery, and then Jota made of crisps disappearing from our lives again for this game. But that's rare now. Surely we should be converting, I don't know, about 1/10 of these every time. It's just it gets my goat. Just talk to me a little bit about that, as well as your assessment of the first time.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.